Ukraine continues to defy expectations in its fight against Russia's invasion while the world watches. But what if we told you a turning point is coming? The moment that could stop this horrific fight forever. With new military strategies, depleting Russian resources, and a stronger Europe supporting Ukraine, a decisive triumph is likely. Military analysis and strategy changes. Putin's special military campaign was anticipated to bring Ukraine to its knees within weeks after 2.5 years of conflict and resilience. Kyiv persevered despite all odds. Ukraine has made the battle a grind that neither can afford to lose. Russia is occupying 18% of Ukraine's land. A twist. Victory is coming to Ukraine, not Russia. Many military analysts feel this battle is nearing its explosive end, and not in Putin's favor. Ukrainian victory is a matter of when, not if. Let's visit CSIS before answering that. At its international security program on February 23, 2024, the CSIS organized a virtual conversation between numerous military experts: Emily Harding, Michael Vickers, Dr. Seth G. Jones, and Dr. Elliot A. Cohen, who predicted Ukraine's victory. Were these specialists? Cohen, the Arleigh Burke Chair at CSIS, said the war in Ukraine is misunderstood. This is seen as a World War I-style stalemate, in which each side grinds against the other, with little change to the front lines other than modest territorial gains or losses. Cohen says Russia promotes this ideology to convince the world that its victory over Ukraine is inevitable. Russia would eventually wear Ukraine out due to its larger population and resources. Cohen said that's not how the conflict is going. Instead, it's a positional warfare conflict in which momentum and initiative swing back and forth based on adaptation, innovation, and change, he said, adding that it's hard to predict how long this phase will last. Again, he is honest. Drone warfare has destroyed a third of Russia's Black Sea Fleet in Ukraine. Satellite reconnaissance and cell phone signal tracking have also advanced, with the side that adopts them first often gaining momentum. Cohen believes the positioning phase must finish when Ukraine faces its year of decision. This year, one or both sides will exhaust their military equipment and manpower. That weariness may even affect their ability to garner aid if the world gets war-weary and cuts support. Another innovation, or, more likely, a military technique modification that gives one side an advantage, may also mark that year of decision. Cohen is so convinced that Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustem Umerov is preparing for the war's end. His priorities would shift to preserving the Ukrainian military as much as possible, including recruiting personnel to fight even as Russia conscripts thousands more soldiers. In April 2024, Ukraine dropped its military draft age from 27 to 25, providing it access to thousands more soldiers for its sustainment strategy. Cohen claims that Umerov is basing his strategy on creating military tactics that see Ukraine take and retain land in refreshed offensives and counteroffensives. It only requires a disruptor. That disruptor may take numerous kinds: Ukraine's bet and Russia's financial troubles. Ukraine has innovated and switched from defense to offense. Ukraine might succeed by picking its battles differently, focusing on a certain area and making progress there, Emily Harding said. The summer 2024 battle proved those words prophetic. Ukrainian financial and Russian armaments production declines could also endanger the fight. This conversation occurred in February 2024, 2 months before the US approved a $60 billion Ukraine aid bill. Perhaps more than one of these will help Ukraine win the conflict. All may combine with other circumstances to bring Ukraine to the year of decision that will lead to its victory. Our video's opening question remains: when will Ukraine defeat Russia? Cohen says it will arrive in 2025, earlier than expected. Cohen said next year will be crucial for the Ukraine war because it will bring together several factors that will benefit Ukraine. We must also answer a much wider question. Why is 2025 ahead of several other years Cohen could have chosen? This topic has many answers, starting with military aid and a future war shift, which Cohen raised at the CSIS session. Cohen may not have been right about aid drying up. The US authorized the $60 billion aid package 2 months after the CSIS event. After the EU agreed to a $54 billion deal, Cohen's comments may have been mistimed. Although these aid packages are spectacular, the US and EU may not repeat them when the money runs out. European news also suggests some governments will cut help. In August 2024, Politico reported that Germany's ruling coalition government would discontinue giving military aid to Ukraine to cut spending. Ukraine faces potential setbacks in 2025 as Germany, a key military aid supplier, plans to reduce its aid to $4.45 billion, which could worsen Ukraine's military spending. Meanwhile, Russia's finances are deteriorating, with its national wealth fund shrinking from $112.7 billion to $55 billion since the war began. Russia's reserves are dwindling due to sanctions and economic strain, while citizens face higher taxes and interest rates. Ukraine's defense also suffers from limited funding, but its strategic shift could still lead to success. In August 2024, Ukraine invaded Russia's Kursk Oblast, capturing 463 square kilometers, including villages and a key gas station. This marks the first time the war reached Russian soil, forcing Russia to redirect troops from critical regions. This move has shifted the battlefield and weakened Russian morale, as many are witnessing the horrors of war on their turf for the first time. The Kursk invasion, which has sparked significant territorial gains for Ukraine, enhances its negotiating position and morale. It also counters Russia's narrative of a proxy war, signaling a turning point in the conflict and boosting Ukraine's leverage for future negotiations. If Ukraine maintains or gains more Russian territory, Putin's legitimacy will be further challenged. His military's failure to seize Ukraine early on and its inability to prevent foreign incursions into Russia undermines his strongman image. This may force Putin to negotiate by 2025, not just due to Ukraine holding Kursk, but because of growing domestic pressure. Polls indicate declining Russian support for the war. In November 2023, a Levada poll found that only 36% of Russians unconditionally supported the war, down from 53% in March 2022. Younger Russians are particularly disillusioned, with only 10–15% supporting the invasion and just 5% of those under 25 trusting state media. Public opinion on the war has been mixed, with many likely opposed but too fearful to speak out in the authoritarian regime. As the conflict reaches Russian territory, discontent is likely to grow, further pressuring Putin to negotiate, a significant win for Ukraine and Zelensky's strategy. Western strategy and Europe's changing military posture. Even a strongman authoritarian leader must listen to his people if they insist his ideas aren't working. Ukraine may gain more in Russia in 2025. Russia failed to force its troops out of Kursk. What's to stop Ukraine from sending more troops, conquering more territory, and changing the situation to the point where Putin must cease it for his country's safety? Possible. The employment of long-range missiles in Russia by Ukraine could make it more likely. In late May 2024, the US allowed Ukraine to use some of its weaponry against Russia on Russian soil. The main restriction was that these missiles could only be deployed to defend Ukraine's besieged Kharkiv area. You can employ the missiles to defend your region, but not to hit Russian objectives further away. Therefore, Ukraine hasn't used long-range missiles like ATACMS in Kursk. The use of long-range missiles on non-urgent targets would mark a red line in the Ukraine conflict, potentially provoking a dangerous reaction from Putin. Early in the war, Western support for Ukraine, such as sending F-16s or allowing attacks on Russian soil, was seen as risky. But Putin's failure to retaliate gave Ukraine and the West confidence to cross those lines. The US is considering sending long-range cruise missiles launched by F-16s to strengthen Ukraine's aerial operations, with a possible deployment in 2024. The use of these missiles could change the tactical landscape of the war, particularly with Ukraine's recent incursion into Kursk. This shift might push Putin toward ending the conflict by 2025. Initially hesitant to provoke Russia due to its strong military, the West's support for Ukraine has grown as Russia's military stagnated. By 2024, European defense spending has surged, reversing Putin's initial goal of quickly defeating Ukraine and intimidating Europe. For example, Sweden and Spain increased their defense budgets by over 30% and 19%, respectively. This newfound military strength, coupled with strategic shifts in countries like Britain and Poland, positions Europe to better handle Putin's threats. Russia's manpower and equipment issues. If Ukraine wins in 2025, it will exert significant pressure on Putin. By then, Europe will be stronger and less intimidated by Russia. Putin's military, weakened by stagnation and equipment losses, has become a paper tiger. A more powerful Europe can support Ukraine and signal to Putin that any attempt to seize Ukraine will be met with strong resistance. This pressure could drive Putin to negotiate by 2025. Internally, Russia faces growing challenges, struggling to sustain the conflict. Russia's reliance on outdated Soviet-era stock is depleting, and the war has cost it over 3,000 tanks and 5,000 armored vehicles. Ukraine reports destroying 85-47 tanks and nearly 16,000 armored vehicles. Despite maintaining 70% of its Soviet-era stock, much of Russia's remaining equipment is ineffective due to poor maintenance and age, further weakening its military capabilities. Rising pressure and Ukrainian victory signs. Gerstad believes Russia may be forced into a defensive position by 2024, with Kursk potentially signaling this shift. This could give Ukraine the momentum needed to end the war in 2025. According to military researcher David Axe, Russia had a one-year weapons reserve in April 2024, but its industrial capabilities can't keep up with its losses. With a shortage of staff, Putin's objectives could be unattainable. Minfin reports Russia has lost nearly 6,000 or 7,000 soldiers and is losing 1,000 per day. The Kursk assault highlighted Russia's manpower shortage, with conscripts unable to defend against more experienced Ukrainian forces. Although Russia has around 46 million fit-for-service personnel, a lack of experience and capacity will make its military less effective over time. Russia's equipment and personnel shortages suggest a potential Ukrainian victory by 2025. Despite Russia's continued land gains, the Kursk assault represents a strategic shift, with growing domestic pressure on Putin as the war nears home. As Europe reinforces its forces and Ukraine intensifies pressure, Russia's position becomes increasingly untenable, suggesting a possible Ukrainian victory in 2025. Thanks for watching our videos. We strive to provide timely and appealing information. Comment your ideas below. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye and see you.